Good morning, everyone. So I'm back with the next session of developing apps for touch and mobile devices. I would like to know if all of you have been able to copy the image on your machines or not. Please respond, everyone. Anybody who has been able to copy the DVDs on the system? No success for anyone? Okay, as most of you are have not been able to copy the DVD till now, I'm a little bit reluctant because unless you have the DVD and you're able to practice, I don't think we should proceed. But yes, the first session today is on prototyping and which does not require VHDs. So I'll go ahead and start with that. But the later sessions I'll have to check with somebody whether we can start it or not. Okay. So before I start with the session, let me just do a roll call. So please respond with a yes if you are present. Jaya? Jaya, are you there? Okay. Shruti? Shruti there? Emmanuel? Thaila? Debasri? Maria Sophia? Maria, are you there? Roshni? Maitri? Sayantan? Sayantan, are you there? Sayantan from Shambazar? Sayantan not there. Okay. If your name is not appearing in this list as such and it is appearing by your center name, when you say yes, please also write your name along with yes. Okay. Cheshta? Gajendra? Swati. Swati from Deccan NIT. No? Soumya? Soumya, is Soumya there? Mandar? Ankita? Rajni? Mahalakshmi? Mahalakshmi, are you there? Sunil? Swati from Connaught Place? Swati from CP, are you there? Priya from Agra Center? Karunambika? Karunambika from Coimbatore? Amit Punetha? Rameshwari? Okay. So right now we are going to learn about desktop prototyping. Yesterday we learned about another type of prototyping. What was that? What was the type of prototyping that we learned about yesterday? Yes, Jaya has given me the right answer. It's paper prototyping. So yesterday we did paper prototyping. That means creating prototypes with the help of papers and cards. Okay. But today we are going to do desktop prototyping. That means using some desktop tools to create prototypes. So what is desktop prototyping? As I just said, the process of creating prototypes on desktops is known as desktop prototyping. Now, mobile UX designers can create desktop prototypes by using simple software tools such as PowerPoint, or they can use some advanced tools such as Exor, Just-in-Mind, Proto.io, and Framer. These tools are created specially for the purpose of prototyping. Okay. Now, based on the type of software tool, desktop prototypes for mobile UX designers designs can be created in two ways, using the simple method and the advanced method. Now, simple method, it involves using a simple presentation software such as PowerPoint or Apple Keynote. Okay. So, what is the benefit of using the simple method? So, the benefit is simplicity and portability. Simplicity means that anybody can use it because it is a simple method. Everybody knows how to use a PowerPoint or an Apple Keynote, how to create presentations, so anybody can easily use it. Portability, because you can easily transfer a PowerPoint file from one computer to another. So if you have to send the prototype to a client or a stakeholder, you can easily email it, and the other person just needs a PowerPoint software which is quite easily available everywhere to be able to open it and see the design that you have created. Okay, so that's the benefit of using desktop prototyping. Now, advanced software would involve use of software tools Now these software tools can make your prototype interactive through clicks, gestures, and touch events. You can use a number of advanced software such as Adobe Flash to create prototypes. You can use some desktop prototyping tools such as Exure, Justinmind, Proto.io, and Framer also to create desktop prototypes using the advanced method. Okay, so now we have a simulation in the TIRM which I would want you to see after this session, which shows how to create a prototype by using a simple prototyping tool. Okay, so it's an online prototyping tool. You can also just go and log in and create your account there and log in, and then you can use that tool to create prototypes of your own. You can also ask your students to go to that website, create an account, and create some prototypes themselves. And the exercises of this chapter, although we are saying that you can create it using in the exercises we want the students to create some prototypes, and we have recommended using PowerPoint, but you can also ask them to use any of these online tools which is available, where you can create a trial account and go there and create the prototypes. Now the last type of prototyping, which is device prototyping. Now what is device prototyping? When you create a prototype that can be run on the actual device. Okay, so instead of looking at it on a paper or looking at it on a desktop screen, the user is able to see it on his or her mobile phone. So that is called device prototyping. So device prototyping enables UX designers to provide a more realistic look and feel of an app to the users. It allows users to provide more accurate feedback related to the app because they are able to see the ultimate user experience on their actual device on which they are going to actually use it. Okay. Now again, device prototypes are of two types: image prototypes and clickable prototypes. So let us discuss each of these in detail. Now what are image prototypes? Image prototypes are nothing but you create images of the screen layout by using any photo editing software. So you create images of the screens, and then the size of the image should be so that it can be rendered properly on the target device. So it should be sized or scaled in that particular manner. Then you can save it in a PNG format and then send the images to the target device. Now on the target device, you can arrange the images in a proper sequence in the gallery. Then whichever is the first image to be shown, you can just show it to the user, and then you can move ahead, swipe ahead and see through all the subsequent screens which will be there in the interface. Image prototype is simple and effective method of gathering quick feedback. You can record the user's feedback about the UX of each screen. In case you want to replace an existing image with a new screen, send the new image to the device, replacing the existing one in the gallery. So it's as simple as that. So if you want to make some changes, you create the new image, make some changes, then send the new image to the device, save it in the gallery at the appropriate position, and remove the old image, and it's done. Now what is the limitation of image prototypes? It is that they are not interactive because there are no click points which are defined. So it's just an image. You can just see what the user interface will look like, and then somebody has to tell you that, okay, when you click on this particular button, this is the next screen which will appear, and this is how it will look. So that's a disadvantage of device prototyping, or that's a limitation of image prototype, which is solved or which is overcome through clickable prototypes. Now what are clickable prototypes? Clickable prototypes are interactive because they allow reviewers to navigate through the app. They allow you to link to various screens of the app. and you can use HTML5 to create clickable prototypes. One of the advantages of HTML5 is that it is free and it is quite easy to edit and maintain HTML pages. Okay, so now what are the factors that you need to consider while designing mobile screens using HTML5? Set the width of the screen to the target device. So we have, you remember yesterday we learned about media queries. So what are media queries? Samson has marked you as present. Don't worry. Okay, so what are media queries? Yes, I have the right answer from CP, which says they are CSS written for different devices. Actually, not different devices, but different device screens and orientations, screen sizes and orientations. Okay, so you can specify that this CSS should be applied to a screen whose width is maximum of 480 pixels or maximum of 600 pixels or something like that. Okay, so for different screen sizes, you can define different CSS. Similarly, for different orientations, you can define different CSS, right? So that is what is media queries. So when you write HTML, when you create the prototype by using HTML, then you also have an option to specify that the width of the screen should be same as the width of the device on which the user is viewing the app. Okay, so that way the screen automatically gets adjusted to the size of the target device. Okay, so when you create a clickable prototype, what is important is that you should be able to provide a basic navigation path, such as how pages are linked together. So users should be able to click on a particular component which takes them to another page within the app. So you have to add clickable areas to explore pages, right? And include simple input fields to launch the keypads and the dialer. Okay, so these are some simple, interactivities that you can build into your prototype. So what are the interactivities? Linking of the pages, one page to another, how will it go? Adding clickable areas to explore pages. So if at times you have some clickables on a page, when you click on them, then some other information appears on the same page. So those kind of clickables you can include in your prototype. And then you can include simple input fields. So let's say you have a text box and you want to show that when the user taps into the text box, the on-screen keypad opens. So these kind of things is something that you can include in your clickable prototype. Now, what are the steps required for creating clickable prototypes? First of all, you need to create the HTML page for the app that you want to create. Then you need to upload the pages to a web server. And finally, you need to access the pages through the browser of the target device. So this enables users to get a realistic experience of how the app will work and function. The prototype can be made more interactive and realistic by creating it directly on the target device, including various gestures and touch events. So you can also use some gestures and touch events, which these tools which are used for prototyping, they provide you, or they enable you to actually implement these things. Now, to create such prototypes, a number of prototyping apps such as Pop and InVision are available. So if you go to the Android app store, you will find an app by the name of POP. So this prototype will basically allow you to click pictures of your screen, so maybe you can just draw a layout on a screen, and sorry, on not on a screen, on a paper. You can draw a layout on a paper, then you can click its picture. Then this app will allow you to create hotspots on your clicked picture. So you can define that this is a hotspot, so when the user clicks on that hotspot, something has to happen. Now what is that something that has to happen? Maybe you are linking to another page, or maybe you are showing a pop-up or something. So this app will allow you to implement all those things. Now, a prototype is considered effective if it is developed quickly to gather quick feedback and disposed easily. Okay, so at times what happens is that developers fall into the prototype trap. There's something called prototype trap. So what is prototype trap? Now, prototype is meant to gather quick feedback from the user. Okay. So we should not be spending so much time in the prototype and enhancing it with all the required features that the meaning of the prototype is lost. So if we are taking up so much time to implement the prototype, create the prototype, then the basic need of the prototype, the reason for which we were creating the prototype, is lost, because the basic reason of creating a prototype is to gather quick feedback. So you should create a prototype in such a manner that you can quickly create it and then send it to the customer to obtain their feedback. So so if when you're creating a prototype, then there are a certain set of questions that you need to answer. What are those? Does the prototype take a long time to incorporate the suggested changes? Does the prototype require a large number of people to be managed? Does the prototype incorporate all the functionalities of the final product? Do you need to add release numbers to the prototype? So if the answer to any of these questions is yes, that means you are into the prototype trap. So that means you are actually trying to enhance the prototype so much that it is approaching a real application rather than acting as a prototype. So you should avoid the prototype trap. Now we have an activity on creating a desktop prototype. So a problem statement has been given, and based on that you have to create a prototype in a PowerPoint presentation. So I would want you to do this after this session. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the theoretical part of the course. Now we are getting into the hands-on part. So let me just complete this session, though I think you need to actually have the virtual machine to be able to understand it properly and practice it properly. Okay. So let us start with an introduction to cross-platform app development. So what do you mean by cross-platform app development? Okay, so our responses would say, Maria says, app runs across all operating system of all mobile devices. Jaya says to develop an app that will run on multiple platforms without any bug. CP. Swati from CP says to develop apps that can support and run on multiple platforms. Mahalakshmi says developing apps suitable for multiple platforms. Nathan says apps can be executed on any platform like Android, iOS, Windows OS. So it's platform independent. Then Soumya says the app can get accessed in any platform like Windows, Android, iOS. Basically, they are hybrid apps. Okay. So yes, most of you are right. So cross-platform app development means developing apps in such a way so that you write the app just once and then it can be ported across multiple platforms without any changes. Okay. So this is what cross-platform app development is about. So otherwise, in the absence of cross-platform app development, what happens is you have to design and develop individual apps for each platform, which is very effort intensive and time consuming. Another thing is that you need to have knowledge of different technologies which are used for developing apps for different platforms. So for each platform, you have some different set of technologies that you need to learn. So if you want to roll out an app which you want to run on Android, Windows, iOS, so then you will have to learn all the relevant technologies which are required to develop an app on iOS, technologies which are required to develop an app on Windows, and technologies which are required to develop an app on iOS separately. But in case of cross-platform app development, you just need to learn one set of technologies and you just develop the app once, and then these apps can be ported to multiple platforms without making any changes. Okay. Now, there are some tools which we can use for developing cross-platform apps. Okay. So now what do these tools basically do? So we have so basically we have different platforms. So I have an Android platform, I have Windows platform and iOS platform. Now each of these platforms provides me some features. Okay, so Android may be providing some set of features, iOS may be providing some set of features, and Windows may be providing some set of features. Now to access these features, each of these platforms, they provide some APIs. Okay, so Android has a different set of APIs to access the features, Windows has a different set of APIs to access the features, and your iOS has a different set of set of APIs to access those features. So for example, if I have to access the camera on an Android device, so Android provides me a set of APIs to access my camera. But to access the camera on an inbuilt camera on an iOS, another set of APIs provided by iOS, which I need to use to be able to access the camera on an iOS phone or an iOS device. Similarly, on a Windows device, if I have to access the camera, Windows provides a separate set of APIs which I need to be able to use to access the camera on a Windows phone. So then in that case, how do we manage to write a single program which will run across all the three platforms? Because the APIs to access the various features on different platforms are different. So how can I have a single program which runs on all the devices? Any ideas? Okay, so Maria says by writing code in platform independent language. But how will that platform independent, the code written in that platform independent language be understood by my Android, by iOS, by Windows? Because they will understand only their APIs. They will not understand any other APIs. Yeah? We have to have a language which will run on cross-platform. So there's no such language which runs on cross-platform. So they have different languages which they support. They have different technologies on which they work. There should be a proper similar in every platform to understand. So there's no proper, common language runtime environment in the different platforms, because they are produced by different vendors, and there is actually no commonality between them. Okay, so write one code and run on different platforms with tools. What does that mean? Mahalakshmi says cross-platform apps are later packaged into native app for target device. But how? Okay, so how do we write one code and run it on different platforms? Can you all switch on your document camera? Please confirm if you have switched on your document camera. So basically, we have three platforms: Android, Windows, Windows Phone, and iOS. Now, Android has some features, Windows Phone has some features, and iOS has some features. Now, to access those features, Android provides some APIs, Windows Phone provides some APIs, and iOS provides some APIs. Right? Now, each of these APIs are different from each other. They don't have anything in common. Now, what is my objective? My objective is that I should be able to write one program which should run on all these three platforms. But when I write this program, since I have different, APIs for Android, different APIs for Windows, and different for iOS, how do I write a single program which works on all the three platforms? So this is where I need a tool. Now, what will this tool do? It will take the program in whatever language I have written, and then it will convert that program into these API. So this tool provides some APIs of its own. This tool provides some APIs of its own. When I write this program, I write the program using these APIs which the tool is providing me. Okay. And then what does this tool do? It converts the calls to these APIs into calls to Android APIs, into calls to Windows APIs, and into calls to iOS APIs. Okay, so that is how we can develop the app just once and then use it across multiple platforms. Is this concept clear to all of you? Please confirm by saying yes or no. Okay. I still need it. I still need it. Okay, now suppose that Android releases a new feature, and for this new feature, it releases a new set of APIs. So there's a new feature in Android, and for this new feature, there are some new APIs which are there. Now this new feature, it was released in January 2016. But the last update of this tool, it was released in October 2015. So what will happen? Now what will happen in this case? I'm waiting for responses, please. Is my question clear to all of you? Please reply with a yes or no. What about others? Yes. So I think everybody has been able to understand except for Jaya. I'll repeat the question again for your benefit. So my question was that Android had some APIs which it provided. Windows Phone has some APIs which is kind of provided, and iOS has some APIs which it provides, and my tool supports all these APIs. But the thing is that this tool was last released on October 2015, but Android released a new feature in January 16. So Android has released a new feature in January 16, and based on that feature, there are some new APIs that it has released. Now, how does my tool have access to these features? Because the tool was launched earlier. At that time, these APIs were not there. But now Android has launched these new APIs. So will my tool be able to support these new features? Please respond with a yes or no. The tool will still be able to Maria, you said the tool will still be able to support those new APIs. How do you think it will be able to support? It will definitely not be able to support those features because my tool was released in October 2015, and at that time the feature was not there. So that means within the coding of the tool, they have not implemented the feature to convert the APIs to these particular APIs, which new APIs have been launched. Okay, so it will not support that feature. So this is one of the disadvantages of cross-platform app development tools. So that the updates take some time to come. So they don't, they as soon as a new feature is released, you don't get access to that new feature in the cross-platform app development tool that you are using. Okay, and if you have to use that feature, then you have to wait for the update of that tool. So let's say this tool will now be updated in March 2016. So till March 2016, you cannot update your app. You will be able to update your app only after this tool gets updated. Okay, is that clear? Okay, Maria is still a little doubtful. Okay, so I'll explain once again. See, Maria, what I explained was that there is a tool that I have Android, Windows Phone and iOS. Each of these platforms has a set of features that they provide, and to access those features, I have a set of APIs for Android, a set of APIs for Windows and a set of APIs for iOS. Okay. So if I write a program using Android APIs, will my program work on Windows Phone? It will not work on Windows Phone. Okay. Similarly, if I write a program using Windows APIs, will it work on Android or iOS? It will not work on Android or iOS. Right? So what do I need? I need a tool which will give me another set of APIs, a common set of APIs, which I can use to write my program. Okay, so I use these set of APIs which my tool provides to write my program, and then what does the tool do? The tool converts the calls to those APIs into 3 different versions. Okay, so one is calls to Android API, one is calls to Windows API, and another is call to an iOS APIs. This part is clear, Maria? Okay, so now I'm saying that this tool was released because these tools kind of come, these devices or these platforms, they keep upgrading themselves. They keep coming up with new features every now and then. Do they or do they not? Are Android phones that we use today still the same as we used to have 5 years back? So they're not the same. So they have released new features and new, on the basis of the new features, there are new APIs which are launched, and then my tool, my cross-platform tool, will not be able to support those new features. Okay, because let's say a new feature was released in January 2016, but the last update of my tool came only in October 2015. So this tool will not be able to support the new feature that was released in January 2016. Is that clear? Maria, is this part clear? Okay. So Maria is asking, so do we have any latest tool? See, it's not possible to have a tool which gets updated every day. Is it possible to have a tool that gets updated every day? Yes or no? It's not possible. It cannot get updated every day. Okay, so they have some frequencies that, okay, the tool will get updated in every 1 month, or it will get updated every 2 months, or it will get updated every 3 months, or 4 months, or 6 months, or whatever. Okay, so different cross-platform tools may have, their different cycles of upgradation on when they do get updated. Now, if a new feature is launched today, I might not be able to use that feature in my app today only. Maybe when my tool gets updated after 15 days or after a month or after 2 months, then only I will be able to use that feature in my app. Because as of now, my tool does not support this particular feature. Is it clear now? Okay. Okay. So this is basically the role of cross-platform tools. Okay, which has been explained on this slide. So as I said, a cross-platform tool provides common APIs that help in accessing the native APIs of each platform. Some popular cross-platform app development tools are PhoneGap or Apache Cordova, Accelerator, Adobe Air, RowMobile, and Qt. So these are some of the common cross-platform app development tools. Of course, there are many others also, so which we have not listed here. You can explore about them on the internet. Now, PhoneGap or Apache Cordova. So basically, these are two releases of the same base code. So earlier it was, known by one name, and then Apache took over. Adobe took over, the source code, and they started calling it PhoneGap. But the basic source code, the name of that remains Apache Cordova. So PhoneGap is the most widely used tool to develop cross-platform apps. The features of PhoneGap are: it is capable of developing mobile apps for Android, Windows Phone 7 and 8, iOS, Symbian, and BlackBerry OS. It enables you to write mobile apps using HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS3. Okay. So the common, the language in which the code is written is HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS3. And then what does PhoneGap or Apache Cordova do? It converts this code and the API calls which it defines into the native code for Android, for Windows Phone, and for iOS. Okay, so it enables you to develop a mobile app that is a web application wrapped within a native application container. So because by using HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS3, basically you develop a web application. Okay. Now, once this web application is developed, it is wrapped in a native application container, and then it is ported into your the different platforms. It allows JavaScript to access the device-level APIs that help in exploring the core features of the target platform, such as file system, network, GPS, and accelerometer. So in order to access these features of the device, the file system, the network, the GPS, the accelerometer, you need some APIs which are device specific, which are platform specific. And what does PhoneGap allow you? It allows you to use APIs provided by JavaScript APIs. It allows JavaScript APIs to be used in your program, and then the tool automatically converts these APIs into APIs for the native platform that you are targeting. Then another cross-platform tool is Accelerator. Now, Accelerator uses various technologies such as HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, PHP, Python, and Ruby that makes it a powerful tool for developing cross-platform apps. Now, Accelerator has more than 300 APIs. The APIs are used to access the native UI components such as navigation bars, menus, and dialog boxes. APIs provide access to native device functionality such as file system, network, geolocation. So basic idea in all these tools is the same, that you write your code using a given set of APIs which the tool provides you, and the tool then automatically converts the calls to these APIs into the native API calls. The same is the case with Adobe Air. It also does a similar thing. So basic, the apps in this case are programmed using technologies such as Adobe Flash, Apache Flex, HTML, JavaScript, and XML. And the apps can be deployed on Windows, Mac OS, and some mobile operating systems such as BlackBerry, Tablet OS, iOS, and Android. Again, another cross-platform tool, RowMobile, which is based on Ruby, and the developer can use this to develop apps for various operating systems such as Android, Windows Phone, Windows Mobile, Symbian, and iPhone. The last tool that we are going to discuss is Qt, which is again used for cross-platform app development. It uses a combination of standard C++ and a special code generator known as a Meta Object Compiler, or MOC, with several macros to develop the apps. And the apps developed using this tool run on major desktop and mobile operating systems. Now, we discussed about cross-platform tools, what they are, what are some of the commonly used cross-platform tools. Now let us discuss some pros and cons of using cross-platform tools. So if I have to develop an app for the mobile device, I can either develop a native app or I can develop a cross-platform app. When I develop a native app, I have to develop separate apps for the different platforms. But when I develop a cross-platform app, I can develop the app just once and it can be ported to multiple platforms. So obviously it provides some advantage over native app development, but it also has some disadvantages. So just let us take a look at what are the advantages and the disadvantages of cross-platform tools. So first advantage is that the deployment speed increases because you just have to develop one app and then it can be ported to multiple platforms. The development cost is obviously reduced because your effort gets reduced and consequently the cost also gets reduced. Web developers can develop mobile apps easily because generally whatever your cross-platform tools, they commonly they use HTML, JavaScript, CSS to develop the apps. Okay, so that means that web developers who know HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, they can easily learn the tool and they can easily start developing apps using this tool. Plugins are easily accessible, so there are several plugins available which help you to actually access the APIs of the native platform. Now, what are the various disadvantages of using cross-platform tools? So, as I discussed with you, new features take time to include in updates. Okay, so if a new feature is introduced, the tool will not immediately support that feature. So, when the next upgrade of the tool will be released, only then the tool will be able to support that feature. Tools are restrictive, code and render time is more. The code is less efficient. Okay, so why is the code less efficient? Any idea? Okay. So the code may be less efficient. Why? Because the developer doesn't have any control on what kind of code the tool renders. Okay, so the if the code written in the tool, the tool that the code that the tool automatically generates is not that efficient, so then it will have an impact on your application, on your app. Okay, so you don't have direct control of what code the tool is actually producing, so that code could be less efficient. Why is the code and render time more? Coder render time is more because you need to compile the code for each and every platform separately. You need to compile it separately for each platform, so that's why it takes a little more time to compile the code that is there, as compared to native, where you just code it once and you have to compile it obviously only for one platform, so there the time is less. Now tools are restrictive. What does this mean? This means that as you might be a Java developer or a .NET developer or a C# developer, or you may be a HTML JavaScript developer. Now, if the tool says that the tool that you're planning to use, if it uses HTML5 JavaScript and you are not so familiar with JavaScript, but you are familiar with C# or you're familiar with Java, so then in that case it is restricted because you cannot use the language of your choice. Of course, if you don't know that language, you need to learn that language, and then only you'll be able to code. So one-time learning is there, but then once you learn it, then you can target multiple platforms. So that is also an advantage, right? Yes. So I have got responsibilities. The code might not support all the features of the desired platform, and it can be problematic when trying to access platform-specific features. Yes, of course. So this we discussed that new features, when they come up, they take time to include in the tool, and there might be some features which are not available with the tool at a particular time. Okay. Okay. So we discussed some 4-5 cross-platform tools, but the tool that we are going to use in this particular course is Apache Cordova. Okay, so Apache Cordova is a cross-platform mobile app development tool. It was produced by Nitobi and then purchased by Adobe Systems. And when it was purchased by Adobe Systems, it was actually called PhoneGap. So Adobe Systems calls it PhoneGap, right? But otherwise, the source code is also available as an open source source code, and that open source version is known as Apache Cordova. It enables developers to develop mobile apps using HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS3. The mobile apps developed by Apache Cordova are hybrid apps. That means cross-platform. They can run on any platform like iOS, Windows Phone, or Android, even BlackBerry. Now, to install Apache Cordova, you need to perform some 3 tasks. What are those? Download and install Node.js. So Node.js is a tool that allows you to execute some commands like node and npm, which are kind of used for JavaScript programming. Okay, so this is one tool that you need to install. Then you need to download and install a Git client. Now Git is a repository kind of a thing, which is an online repository. There people can share their open source projects. So you need to install a Git client so that you can, when you create a new Apache Cordova project, so it basically downloads the template from the Git repository. So that's why to be able to download the template from the Git repository, you need to have a Git client. And then you have to install the Cordova module. Okay, now the Cordova module is a module which basically is the tool that helps you write your program using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and then convert it into the native code for each particular platform. Okay, any queries till now? Okay, so no queries till now. Let me proceed. Okay, so these are things that you need to install, and there are steps given in the lab guide on how to install these. So basically for node.js, you need to go to the node.js website and follow the steps to install node.js. Then similarly, for the Git client, you need to go to the Git website and download the Git client and then install it. Just follow a simple wizard to install it. And for the Cordova module, again, you need to run some command at the command prompt to install the Cordova module. The steps are given in your lab guide. But as far as the VHD is concerned, these things are already installed. In fact, when we install Visual Studio, because for this we will be using Visual Studio to develop our apps. Visual Studio, the latest version, it provides you the features where you can develop cross-platform apps using the Apache Cordova module. So it has Apache Cordova built into it. The Visual Studio latest version, it has Apache Cordova built into it, and you can use Visual Studio to develop apps that are actually Apache Cordova apps. Okay, so when we install Visual Studio, some tools are automatically installed along with it. So these are one of these tools, Node.js and Git client. They get automatically installed when you install Visual Studio, provided you are installing Visual Studio with tools for Apache Cordova extension. Okay. Okay, so now let us take a break, and we'll come back after the break, and then we'll continue with the rest of the session. I think we'll take a 15-20 minute break, and then we'll join back at around 11:10. Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm sorry as we have started the session a little late. The first thing that we wanted to discuss was that since all of you have not been able to run the VHD properly, so should we continue with the session or not? So finally what we have decided is that I'll get you started with the tool and how to use it, and then probably we can wait for you to have your setups ready, and then the next part of the session will continue only after that. Okay, so today we'll just get started on how to use the tool. Then whenever your setup is ready, I would expect you to run a couple of programs and see whether the thing is running properly or not, so that whenever we start the session again, so you are ready with all the relevant resources. Okay. Okay. So I have received a query about Node.js and Git client. Okay. So what is Node.js and what is Git client? So basically, both these Node.js is an application or is a framework which is basically used for JavaScript coding. Okay. So when you have to run JavaScript on the server side or something like that, because nowadays you can even use JavaScript on the server side. So earlier it was like only used for client side scripting, but this is as per the latest technology trends, JavaScript is also now being used on the server side. Okay, so, and Node.js is a tool or is a framework which helps you execute JavaScript on the server side. So although in this course we will not be actually doing any server-side coding, but the Cordova module, it also requires you to have Node.js, because again we will be doing all the coding in JavaScript and HTML and CSS. So there are certain things, for executing all those plugins and everything which we'll be using. So we'll need the Node.js framework. So that is one thing that we need to install. The other thing that you have asked about is Git client. Now what is Git client? Git client is an online repository which is basically used by developers to share code that with the world. So any open source code that they want to share with everybody, so they put it up on Git. People can make copies of that code, clones of that code, and they can make some enhancements to it, and they can come up with a new version. So this is what Git is all about. Okay, now why do we need Git in this particular course? We need it because when we create new Cordova project, so the new Cordova project, a basic template for that project is downloaded from the Git repository. So there's for Apache Cordova, a repository, a template has been created and it has been uploaded on the Git server. So whenever somebody has to create a new Cordova project and you need a template to get started, a template would be like a basic folder structure which lists all the required files and the folders. So that template has been created and uploaded on the Git server. So whenever we create a new project, a template gets downloaded from the Git server, and that's why to access that you need a Git client. Now this Git client is basically a command line utility. You don't have any GUI interface for that. Okay, so it's a command line utility. So when you make a request to create a particular Cordova project, Apache Cordova project, it is automatically downloaded from the Git server. But in the background it is required. Okay. Okay, can you please repeat what is Git client? I already received this query before I even finished it. Okay, so Soumya, let me take you on air. Hi Soumya. Soumya, I can't hear you. Hi Soumya, please say something. No Soumya, I still can't hear you. Okay. Okay, Soumya, I just explained what Git client is. So, was it not clear to you, or any specific thing about that which is not clear to you? So please type in, because I can't hear you. Okay. So I didn't say that using Git you can develop app in a collaborative way. I didn't say that. What I said was that Git is a tool which is used by people who want to, share their open source code. It is used by them to upload their code. Then if they make any changes to the code, a version, multiple versions of the code is maintained by the Git website. Okay. So they can go and access the latest version. If they want, they can go and access the previous versions. And then they can also share their code with others. So when they share their code with others, it would mean that another person can make a clone of your project, okay, and then make some changes of his or her own on that project. Okay, so this was just about Git. I did no relation with Cordova as of now. Okay, so now one of the shared projects which is there on Git, which is already there on Git, is the Apache Cordova project. Okay, so there is a template which has been uploaded on the Apache Cordova project, which allows you, which is kind of a startup for any project, any Cordova project that you want to create. Okay, now when I give a command on my system that I want to create a Cordova project, so what does my system do, or what does the Cordova tool installed on my system do? It connects with the Git repository and it downloads that template which has been uploaded on the Git server. Okay, so how does it connect with the Git server? By using the Git clients that you install on your machine. Is it clear now? Yes, Git client helps you to connect to the repository which is stored on the server. Okay, and it enables you to download any project or make some changes to the project which is there on the repository. So any to and fro action through the command line, you can do it using Git client. What do you mean by a cloud space? Yes, basically it is it is on the web. So whatever is on the web is basically cloud. right? So your project is there on the web, it is on the cloud. If you want to download a particular project from the cloud, you can do that using the Git client. If you want to make some changes to a particular project which is there on the server, again you can do it through the Git client. So whatever to and fro changes you want to make, it's through the Git client that it happens. But the purpose for which we are going to use it, we are going to use it only for the purpose of right now downloading a template of the Cordova project to our machine. Okay? So Soumya, is it clear to you now and to everyone else? Okay, so Soumya is asking me, will you show any steps to download Git? Okay, so as I said, Git and your Node.js already gets installed when you install Visual Studio with tools for Apache Cordova. Okay, so it's already installed. You don't need to install it. But if you want to install it, probably you can install it on your host machine, not on the virtual machine, because on the virtual machine it is already installed. The steps are given in the lab guide. Only thing that you need to do is you need to go to for installing Node.js. You need to go to http://node.js.org, http://node.js.org. There you will find a link to install Node.js. You have to click that link. The download, the MSI file for Node.js will get downloaded. Then you have to run that file, and there will be a step-by-step wizard which will guide you through the installation. Okay, so there's nothing much to do there. It's just downloading the MSI file and then executing it. Okay, and about the Git client, so to install the Git client, you go to http://git-scm.com. The link is given in the lab guide, so you can also check it from there. So you just go to http://git-scm.com. On the web page that appears, you will find a link to download for Windows. So download for a Windows machine. So there you click that link. Again, exe file will get downloaded. Now you just have to run that exe file, and it will be a step-by-step wizard asking you certain questions, and you have to answer. All the steps are given in the lab guide, so you can just follow those steps and Git will be installed. So it's a very simple process, nothing great to do. Is it okay, Soumya? Okay. Okay, so once you have installed NPM, once you have installed, sorry, not NPM, once you have installed Node.js, and once you have installed Git, now after that you need to install Cordova. Again, Cordova is already installed in the VHD. but I would just tell you what is the command to install npm to install Cordova. So to install Cordova, you simply need to go to the command prompt and you need to type npm install -g Cordova. So this npm utility is automatically installed when you install node.js, so you don't need to install it separately. Okay, so npm gets installed along with node.js, and the npm utility can be used to install Apache Cordova on your system. So for that you have to type npm install -g Cordova. Again, I would repeat that Cordova is already installed on your virtual machine. Why? Because we are using Visual Studio there with Apache with tools for Apache Cordova extension. So when we install Visual Studio with tools for Apache Cordova extension, there are certain tools which automatically get installed, and Cordova has also been installed there. Okay. So in case you want to install it on a machine that doesn't have Visual Studio with Apache tools for Apache Cordova, then you can use this command. Otherwise, it's not required. Can you see the command on your screen? Okay. I think there's some problem. I have typed the command on this notepad, but it seems that it's not visible in the notepad. So though I have typed it and I can see it here, but I think on the screen which you are seeing, this command is not appearing. नहीं आ रहा?
आपको इसी पर पूछना है।
ये मेरी फोटो के नीचे छुप गया. Okay, can you see it now? So this is the command that you need to type in on the command prompt to install Cordova. Okay, so now once Cordova is installed and all the relevant tools are installed, so you have node.js, you have Git client, you have Cordova. Now you can create a Cordova project. But if you also want to run it on an emulator, so you'll have to either run it on a Android emulator or a Windows emulator. So on whichever emulator you want to run it, that emulator should be installed on your system. Okay. Again, if you are using Visual Studio with tools for Apache Cordova extension, then these emulators are automatically installed on your system. You don't need to install them explicitly. Okay. But if you're not using Visual Studio, then you'll have to explicitly install these emulators. Okay. So now once all the tools are there in place, what is the next step? So first of all, you need to create a project. You need to create a Cordova project. Now once you have created the Cordova project, you need to add the platforms for which you want the output to be generated. So let's say I have created a project and I want the output in both Android as well as Windows. So I'll have to specify that I need the output in Android as well as Windows. So I have to add those platforms. Then I have to update the source code. So by default, when I create a project, it is kind of a template which has a basic structure. So whatever I want to do in my app, for that I have to write the code, update the source code, and then finally, once my code is ready, I will build the app, and then I'll deploy the app to an emulator or to a device. Okay. So these are the steps for creating a Cordova app. So we'll see these in detail. So first step, creating a project. So how do I create a project? So for creating a project, I need to use this command, Cordova create. So here I've written hello, com.niic. Oh, can you see the screen? No. Yes, I'll just okay. Nice slide. I need the current slide there. Yes. Okay. So these are the steps that I was talking about while creating a Cordova project. These are the 5 steps that are involved. First of all, you create a new project. So when you create a new project, what happens? The template for the Cordova project is downloaded. Then you add platforms. Okay. That means you specify whether you want the output for an Android device or for a Windows device. So whichever device you want the output, you need to add that platform. I will show you how to do that. Then you need to update the source code. So that means that whatever changes you want to, because when you create a new project, it's just a template. It just displays a basic page, and if whatever you want your app to do, so based on that you have to make some changes to your code. So this is what we are referring to in this step. And finally, once you have made the changes, you build the app. That means you compile it. Then you can compile it for multiple platforms, or you can compile it for a specific platform. So there are several options which are there. So I'll just explain you how to do that. And finally, when you have built your app, you have to deploy it on a device. Okay. So now let us first see how to create a new project. So to create a new project, you need to use the command Cordova create followed by the name of a folder in which you want to create the project. Then we have written here com.nit.hello. This is the name of the package, your app package, and then finally I've written hello world, which is the name of your which is the title of your app. So here we have explained the three parts. Hello is the name of the directory that will be created for the cross-platform project. com.nit.com provides the package name for the project, and hello world provides the title of the app. Okay. So once you do that, a basic template for your project gets created. Can you please project my screen? Okay. So let me first show you this step. The first step for creating an app. Let me first create a folder in which I'll create all these apps. So I've created an apps folder. Now I'll go into the apps folder, and then I'll say Cordova create hello com.nit.hello hello world. Okay. When I hit enter, it says creating a new Cordova project. So basically what it has done in the background is, let me go to the file explorer, and this new folder apps has been created, and within this folder, a folder by the name of hello has been created. Now you can see that in this folder there is a folder structure that has got created. So this is the basic template for your project. Okay. Now this hooks is a folder which contains a readme file which you will never need to use. So just skip that. The most important folder where you will be doing most of your work is the www folder. Now this www folder, it contains one file which is called the index.html file. Now this index.html file is the place where you will include the code to create the UI of your app, user interface of your app. Then you have a JS folder. This is the folder in which you will put the JavaScript code associated with your project. Then in the img folder, you will put any images that you want to use in your project. And in the CSS folder, you will put any CSS that you want to use in your project. Okay. Then you have a config.xml file which allows you to provide some configuration settings for your project. We'll learn more about this in detail later. Then there's a plugins folder. Now this plugins folder is basically used to add some plugins or add some APIs associated with the plugins when you want to use certain features. So for example, if I want to use the device camera, so I have to use a plugin which will help me use the device camera. I have to add that plugin. So where do I add that plugin? I'll add that plugin in this particular folder. And then we have a platforms folder. So right now the platforms folder is blank. Why is it blank? Because we have not yet added any platforms. So I have not specified that whether I want to generate output from this app for the Android platform, Windows platform. So which is the platform for which I want, apps to be generated. So that's why right now this folder is empty. Okay. So this is the folder structure that we saw. Is there any doubt, anybody, in any of the slides that we have covered till now? Okay. Anybody else? Any doubt? Okay, so you want to see the command prompt again. I'll just show it to you. So this is what it looks like. Anything else? Okay. Somebody wants me to go a bit slow while showing the demos. I'll keep that in mind. So right now what all I have done is I've created a folder by the name of apps. I have gone into the folder by using the cd apps command, and then I have used this command Cordova create hello com.nit.com hello world to create a new Cordova project. Now in this command there are three parameters: hello, com.nit.hello, and hello world. So I have explained the meaning of each of these three parts. Hello is the name of the folder in which the project will be created. com.nit.hello is the name of the package for the project, and hello world is the name of the app. Okay. Excuse me. There's some connectivity problem right now. I'm not being able to project my screen. Okay, so in the meantime, let's go ahead. Okay, so somebody is asking me, can we write anything at the place of com.nit.hello? Yes, you can write anything, whatever name you want to provide to your package. So you can write that there. Okay. So anything else? Any queries till now, or anything that you have not understood till now? So we created a basic project for which a new template got created in the hello folder. Now within that project we saw that there was a www folder, there was a platforms folder, there was a plugin folder, and there was a config.xml file. So config.xml file is used to manage the configurations of your project. The www folder contains the HTML files which contain the user interface of your project. www folder also contains the JavaScript files for your project, the image files for your project, and the CSS files for your project. Okay. 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 Okay, so now once we have created our project, now what we need to do, the next step is to add the platforms, to add the required platforms to your project. So let us say I want the output of my project in the form of an Android app. Okay, so what do I write? I'll say Cordova platform add Android. Okay, so let me switch to the demo machine. And here I will write Cordova platform add Android. Okay, so it says Cordova current working directory is not a Cordova based project. That's because I have not moved into the Hello project, because the folder that I created, the project that I just created, it is there in the Hello folder. So I have to first move into the Hello folder, and then I can type this command, Cordova platform add Android. Okay. So now it has added the Android platform. You can go and check whether it has added the Android platform or not. So I'll go back to my project folder, and now if I go into the platforms folder, now you can see earlier this folder was empty, but now I can see some contents in it. So there's an Android folder where there is an Android folder structure that has been created. The folder structure of an Android project has been created. Okay. Similarly, if I want to add a Windows project or a Windows Phone project, so I can say Cordova platform add Windows, and then it will create another folder, and there it will add my Windows Phone project. Okay. Is this clear? Is this clear to everyone? Please respond by saying yes or no. If you have to create a Windows platform, then you don't have to add a new project. You simply have to say Cordova platform add Windows. Okay. So this will create a Windows 8 project. Okay. If you want to create a Windows Phone project, you will say Cordova platform add WP, or is it WP8? I think. Okay. So now if you go back into the folder structure and go into the platforms folder, you'll see that now you have folders for Android, for Windows, for WP8, Windows Phone 8. Okay. So now what I do is, whatever coding I have to do, I will do only in the www folder. I will never need to go into the platforms folder, Android, Windows, WP8. I will never need to go into that. I will only need to write all my code in the www folder, and when I build my app, okay, okay. So the command that I just typed was this one, Cordova platform add WP8, Cordova platform add WP8, and before that I had written Cordova platform add Windows. Okay, now what is the difference between WP8 and Windows? WP8 is for Windows Phone 8, and Windows is for a Windows Store app, the apps that you see on Windows 8. Okay, so on a Windows 8 machine, not a a mobile device. So it is the Windows 8 machine. Okay, so let me just explain it using this. Okay, so I have a Cordova project which I have created. Some people have not been able to understand the concept, so I'm trying to explain it. Let me know if you still have any queries. Okay, so I have created a Cordova project which I created by using the Cordova create command, right? Now for that, when I created this project, what happened? There was a folder structure that got created in which there was a platforms folder, there was a www folder, there was a plugins folder, and there was a config.xml file. Okay, so this is something that got created automatically once I created the project. Okay, now we say that when we develop an app by using Apache Cordova, we just need to write our code once, and then it gets built for multiple platforms. Okay, so now where do I write the code? I will write the code in my www folder. Okay, now this www folder will have the required HTML files for the UI of my project, HTML files for the UI of my project, JavaScript files for the logic, the business logic of my project, CSS files for the styling of my project, and any image files that are required by my project. Okay, this part is clear? Is this part clear? The session started at 1 o'clock, and I had already informed in advance that it will start at 1 o'clock, so you should have actually taken your lunch before that. We already lost so much of time. Okay, so this part is clear to everyone? let me complete this part, and after that we can have a break for 15 minutes. Okay, so there was some connectivity problem at the end of CP, so they have missed something. So let me just quickly explain it again. So you created a Cordova project by using the Cordova create command. Once you created the project, this folder structure got created. There was a platforms folder which got created, there was a www folder which got created, and a plugins folder which got created, and a config.xml file which got created. Okay, so this part is clear. Now within the www folder we have all the code that we need to, we say that when we use Apache Cordova to create a project, okay, so we have to write the code only once, and then it gets converted into code for different platforms automatically. So where do we write our code? So we write our code in the www folder. Okay, so this www folder will have all the UI of my project will be contained in the HTML files within this project, within this www folder. All the business logic will reside in the JavaScript files within this folder. All the styling will reside in the CSS folder within this folder. And all the images required by my project will be stored in the IMG folder within this folder. Okay, this part is clear to everyone? Okay, so now what we want is that I have written the common code. Now I'm trying to say that, okay, I want the output for an Android project. So I have written the common code which is required. Now I want to run my project on Android. Okay, so for that what do I need to do? I need to add the Android platform to my project. So how do I add the Android platform to my project? I add the platform by saying Cordova platform add Android. Okay, Cordova platform add Android. Now when I do that, what happens? Within the platforms folder, a new folder by the name of Android gets created, and within this folder, the folder structure of an Android project gets created automatically. Okay, is this part clear? Is this part clear to everyone? Please confirm quickly so that we can proceed. Okay. Now, if I want that, now I also want to run my project on Windows Phone 8. So then what do? I will simply say again Cordova platform add, and instead of Android, I will say WP8. Now when I do this, again another folder gets added to my platforms folder by the name of WP8. And within this folder, I have the entire folder structure of a Windows Phone 8 project. Okay. Now I also use the Windows thing. You must have seen that there are some tablet devices and other devices where Windows 8 operating system is installed. So it's not Windows Phone 8 operating system, it's Windows 8 operating system. Okay, so if I have to run on those kind of devices, then I need to add the platform. So I have already added Android, I've already added Windows Phone 8, so I need to add Windows. So once I add Windows, I will also be able to run my program on a tablet, on a Windows tablet device. Okay? So this is what we have done till now. I hope it is clear to everyone now. Please confirm quickly, we want to proceed further. Okay. So is there anybody who is still not clear about it? Okay, so very good question. Can we also add iOS platform? See, we can definitely add iOS platform, but development of iOS platform requires certain additional things which we don't have on our virtual machine. Okay, so that's why I didn't show it as a demo. So in throughout this course, we will be needing, we will be creating, apps which will run on Android and Windows. Okay, and Windows Phone 8. Will not be focusing on iOS. No, iOS is not open source, and typically you need you need some keys which you need to purchase from Apple to be able to develop apps for iOS. Okay, so you need a developer ID or something in order to be able to develop apps for iOS. Okay, is that clear? But provided you have all those required things, developer RX. So in case you have those keys and all those things, then you can use Cordova to develop iOS apps also. It's not a issue. Okay, but you need to purchase those keys from Apple, and then only you are able to develop apps for them. Okay. So what next? So now we have created a project. We have added the platforms that on which we want to run that project. Now the next step is to update the source code. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to open my index.js file, index.html file. And there's some code which is already there in this file. Now I'll replace the code which is there in this file. So I'll remove this part, the div element which contains the UI part of the app. I'll just remove this and I'll paste some other code. So what is this code basically doing? So I have an input field here which says enter the first number. Then I have a select box here. So this is simple HTML code. So then I have a select box here in which I have addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Okay, so 4 options are there. And then I have another input field which says enter the second number. And then I have a button here of type submit, input field of type submit, that is a button. The value is calculate, and that's it. Okay, so somebody is asking me which file needs to be modified. So in the www folder, there's an index.html file. That is the file that needs to be modified. Right now we are in the process of modifying that file. Okay, so what we have basically done is we have removed the code for the UI creation, user interface creation, which was already there in that file, and we have replaced it with some other code. Now what does this code do? It contains a text box. First it contains a text box that displays the message enter the first number. After that we have a select box which displays 4 options: addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. After that we have another text box which says enter the second number, and finally we have a submit button. Okay, so you would have understood this is kind of a calculator app that we are trying to create. Okay, now I'm going back to my CSS folder. Okay, so this is my folder structure. I have a CSS folder within the www folder. I will open this folder. In this folder I have a file named index.css. Let me open this file. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll remove everything which is already there in this file, and I'll simply replace it with a simple CSS code which sets the background color to aqua. Let me save this file and then close it. Let me copy this code so that I don't have to type it. Okay, again I'm going back to my folder structure. Now within the www folder I have a JS folder, And within this folder I have an index.js file. This is the JavaScript file of my project. So let me open this file. Now what do I have in this file? I have some code. So there's a initialize function which calls a bind events function. Then here I have a bind events function, the bind events function defined. Now what does this function do? Let me just separate it out so that you can understand it better. So first of all, we have an initialize function which calls the this.bindEvents function. Now this bind events function is defined here. There's the mouse. Now what does this function do? It says document.addEventListener device ready this.onDevice ready, false. So what does it do? It basically adds an event listener to your app. The name of the event listener is, the event that it listens to is device ready, and the function that it calls on the occurrence of the event is on device ready. And then we have this on device ready function. Now in the on device ready function, we are calling the app.received event device ready. Okay. And then we have defined the received event function, which says parent element equal to document.getElement by ID. So basically what we did here when we invoked app.received events device ready function here, we called this function and passed the device ready event here. And now we are getting the ID and setting some events, some default events which are already done as a part of the template. Now what I need to do right now, I need to add an event listener for the button. So similarly, as there was an event listener for the device ready event, I want to define an event listener for the btn calculate button that I have just created in my HTML file. Okay, so document.getElement by ID btn calculate dot add event listener click this dot on calculate. It means that whenever you listen, you detect the click event on the btn calculate button, you should call the on calculate function. Now let's go back and copy some code from here. And after the on device ready function, received event function, I'm going to paste this code. Now this code basically defines the onCalculate function. So I have the onCalculate function which is being defined here. So first of all, it reads the value of the first text box in the X variable. Then it reads the value of the second text box in the Y variable. Then it reads the value of the operation select box in the O variable. Okay, then it checks whether the length of the two numbers is 0 or not. So if it is 0, it says please fill up all the fields, that you cannot leave the fields blank. Then it converts the first number to an integer and stores it in the variable A. Similarly, it converts the second number to an integer by using the parseInt function and stores the integer in the variable B. Then it checks what operation was selected from the select drop-down list. If the first item was selected, then the index will be 0. Okay. So if O is equal to 0, that means if the first element was selected, then you have to perform addition of the two numbers. So here we are adding up the two numbers and storing the result in the result element on the screen. So in the UI, we must have an element by the ID res. So within that element, the result is being stored so that it will be displayed on the screen. Otherwise, if the second operation was selected from the drop-down list, then the two numbers will be subtracted and the difference will be stored in the div element. Similarly, multiplication and division. Okay, so this is what this code is doing. So this is simple JavaScript code, nothing fancy about it, simple JavaScript code which all of you, I hope, know. Okay, so there's some confusion, I think, about the files in which the code needs to be added. So it is as simple as this. Any HTML code you need to add, you will add in the index.html file. Any JavaScript code you need to add, you will add it in the index.js file, which is there in the www folder. Within the www folder, there is a JS folder, and any JavaScript file code you will actually write in the index.js file, which is present in this particular folder. Okay, and any CSS code that you want to write, you will write it in the index.css file, which is present in www/css folder. Is this clear? The detailed instructions on where the code needs to be copied or are there in your lab guide. You can check it for the details. Okay, but yes, definitely the HTML code that we initially wrote, it was there in the index.html file. The CSS code we copied in the index.css file, and the JavaScript code we wrote it in the index.js file. Okay, and this was the first program, so I have explained all the complete program in detail, but otherwise it is simple JavaScript code, and I hope all of you should be able to understand this code without me having the need to explain it to you. Okay, so now we have made all the changes that we wanted to make in our code. Now we need to build our app. Okay, so I have made the changes to the index.html file, to the index.css file, and the index.js file. Now the next thing that I need to do is, let me clear the screen so that it is visible to you. Okay, so we have done 3 things till now. We have created a new Cordova project by using Cordova create command. Then we added some platforms to the project, and then we wrote the code that we need to actually for which we need to create our app. So if I want to create an app to add 2 numbers or to perform several calculations on 2 numbers, so for that whatever code was required I have just written. So I created an HTML file which provided me 2 input boxes and an operation selection drop down box plus a button to submit my query. And there was also a div element where I could show my result. Okay. Then I created my CSS to apply styling to my app, and then I created a JavaScript file to provide the business logic for the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Yeah, see, in a select box, the first item has an index of 0, the second item has an index of 1, third has an index of 2, and fourth has an index of 3. Okay, so in my drop down list, addition was the first item, subtraction was the second item, multiplication was the third item, and division was the fourth item. So if the drop down list selection was 0, that means you have selected addition. So the 2 numbers need to be added. Okay. Similarly, if it was 1, that means you have selected subtraction. So the 2 numbers need to be subtracted. Everything clear as of now? Please let me know. Okay. So now the next step is to build the app. Now to build the app, you simply need to type Cordova build. So when I do this, it will build for Android as well as for WP8 as well as for Windows, for all the platforms that I have added. Now, if you want to build for a specific platform, you will have to type the name of the platform here. So if I say Cordova build Android, it will build only for Android. But if I just say Cordova build, it will build for all the 3 platforms. Okay. So let me right now just do it for Android. So it will take some time. Okay, so now it says build successful. So now that the build is successful, what do we do? Let us see if we are able to see the app on an emulator or not. Okay, so for that we'll say Cordova emulate. Cordova emulate Android. So I want to see it on. Can you see the command? No, I think. Let me clear the screen and then write it again. Well, clear the screen and I'll say Cordova emulate Android. It takes some time to start the emulator. The app has still not loaded. It will take some time to load. Okay, I think it will take some time to load up. So in the meantime, we can have a break and let us join back at 2:45.